Hello everyone, welcome back to TekkinLife, and today we will be learning about how to add and subtract fractions. So let's get into it. Now, to learn how to add and subtract fractions, we need to first understand how to find equivalent fractions. And by definition, equivalent fractions are two fractions that result in the same value after simplification. I'm assuming that we have all learned about what equivalent fractions are in the past, and to reword this, it's basically when two fractions have the same value after being simplified to their lowest terms. So let's see an example. Now over here, we can see three fractions that are equivalent to each other. 1 over 2, or 1/2, is equal to 2 over 4, or 2/4, which is also equal to 4 over 8, 4/8. And numerically, we can see that they're equivalent by multiplying or dividing the top and bottom by the same number, and that will result in an equivalent fraction. So what we did here is we took the 1, multiplied it by 2 to get 2, and 2 multiplied it by 2 to get 4. So after multiplying by the numerator and the denominator by the same number, we can find an equivalent fraction. The numerator is the top number and the denominator is the bottom number, and we've multiplied both by 2 to get 2 over 4. And we just repeated that same process to get another equivalent fraction, 4 over 8. Now keep in mind that it's not necessary to be multiplying by 2. I could have multiplied the 1 over 2 by 3 on both sides, on the top and the bottom, and that would have resulted in 3 over 6, which is another equivalent fraction to 1 over 2. So here we will have a diagram shown to sort of represent this fraction, and we'll start with 1 over 2. Now 1 over 2 has two sides, as we've cut right here, and only one side would be filled in. If we do this, we can see that there's now 4 pieces in the circle, and now 2 of them are colored in, because all we did is split it in half and add more pieces, which also results in a proportional amount of colored segments in the fraction. Now I can add more lines to represent 4 over 8 as well, and as you can see, it's the exact same thing. It just splits the side into more pieces and also increases the total proportionally, so it's now 4 over 8 as a fraction. Now when we're adding or subtracting fractions, there are 3 main steps. First, you find a common denominator. Second, you change original fractions to equivalent ones with the common denominator. And finally, you add or subtract the numerators while keeping the denominators the same. Now, finding a common denominator is nothing but looking at the bottom part of the fraction and finding a common multiple between all of the denominators in the question. Now, for all these steps, we will use this little example right here just to demonstrate. So to find a common denominator here, what you could do is you could write out the multiples of each one. So that for 2, it would be 2, 4, 6, dot, dot, dot. And for 3, it would be 3, 6, 9, dot, dot, dot. And we can see that 6 is one of the common multiples for both of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to now look at our next step, and we're going to use this common denominator to find equivalent fractions with this denominator. So over at the bottom, this should be 6 plus another fraction that's over 6. Now to get from 2 to 6, we have to multiply by 3, right? And to get from 3 to 6, we have to multiply by 2. So to get the numerators, we have to do the exact same thing. Over here, we multiplied by 3 on the bottom, so we do the same on the top. 1 times 3 is 3. And to get from 3 to 6 on this side, we multiply by 2, so we'd multiply 2 by 2 to get 4. You just multiply the top and the bottom by the same number in order to get an equivalent fraction. Now our final step is just to add or subtract our numerators depending on whatever sign there is in the question. In this case, it's addition. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the answer over 6 and the numerator becomes 3 plus 4, which is 7. One last step is to actually reduce your fraction to lowest terms, which essentially means that if both the numerator and the denominator can be divided by the same number, then do so until it cannot be divided anymore. That is what you call your lowest terms. This is already in its lowest terms, so you do not need to do that. The answer to 1 over 2 plus 2 over 3 is 7 over 6. Here's another example question that we will be going through. So, in order to solve this question, we need to first look at the fractions we have. We have 1/3 plus 4/6 minus 2/4. And the first step is to find a common denominator, and we did that last time by finding the multiples of each denominator, which is the 3, the 6, and the 4, and then finding one common multiple, the first one that shows up, which is the lowest common denominator. So for 3, we'll write out its multiples by saying 3, 6, 9, and so on. For 6, it would be 6, 12, 18, and so on. And for 4, it would be 4, 8, 12, and so on once again. Now, we have to look for one common number that shows up in all of these multiple sets. So let's see, we have 3, 6, 9. If we extend this, it would be 3, 6, 9, 12. And we see that 12 is the lowest one that shows up in all of them, because we can see there's 3, well, there's no 3 in the others. There's a 6 here and here, but there's no 6 in the multiples of 4. There's only a 9 in the multiples of 3, but 12 shows up in all. 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to use this in solving our question. So what we have to do is we have to convert all the denominators to 12. And this question might seem a little harder than the other one, but it's only because there are multiple terms in this one. Yet it's the same procedure. Now all of them are over 12. So now to get from 3 to 12, what do we have to do? We have to multiply by 4, right? Multiply by 4. So in order to get from 1 to whatever this number is, we also have to do the same thing that we did on the bottom. We multiplied 3 by 4 to get 12. Now we have to multiply 1 by 4 to get whatever this missing number is. So we're going to do that right here. Times 4. And now this missing value would be 4, since 1 times 4 is 4. So we have 4 over 12 plus blank over 12, which we will find by doing the same procedure, finding what the denominators are multiplied by, and 6 multiplied by 2 is what gives you 12. So again, we have to do the same thing on the top. We multiply it by 2, since we did the same thing on the bottom, and now 4 by 2 is 8. Now again, we have to follow the same procedure and multiply 2 by whatever number we multiplied the denominators by. So we multiplied 4 by 3 to get 12. Now we have to multiply 2 by 3 to get an equivalent fraction, because equivalent fractions are multiplied by the same number on the top and the bottom. 2 by 3 is nothing but 6. Now we have a new question with all common denominators. We found the common denominator. We've changed all the original fractions to equivalent ones with the common denominator, and finally we just add and subtract the numerators. Now, in BEDMAS, we just go by addition and subtraction, whatever order they appear in. So there's only addition and subtraction in this question, as you see here and here. So we can just do it in the order that it comes, and it will be over 12 regardless, since the denominator is not what we're changing. So 4 plus 8 is 12, minus 6 is 6. 6 over 12 is our answer. However, one last step we have to consider, which I have not written down, is putting your fraction in lowest terms. In order to do that, you have to find a common factor of both of these numbers, and you have to divide by that. So one common factor is 6. So we can divide both by 6. Divide this by 6. Divide this by 6 to find an equivalent fraction that is just put in lowest terms. And now you get 1 over 2, which is our lowest terms. And that is how you add and subtract fractions, everyone. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.